The Kraxan Empire's flagship pierced Earth's atmosphere like a crystalline dagger, its hull refracting sunlight into 1,000 rainbow shards across New York's skyline. Behind it, 37 other vessels took up formation, their angular forms deliberately positioned to cast intimidating shadows over major population centers. The message was clear: submit or burn. Ambassador Vexilon adjusted his bioluminescent robes before the United Council chamber's doors, their intricate patterns pulsing with barely contained disdain. His aide, Junior Diplomatic Officer Kirishi, scrolled through intelligence reports on her neural tablet. "The humans have exactly 6 orbital defense platforms, my lord," she whispered, her mandibles clicking with amusement, "all armed with primitive kinetic weapons. Their most advanced ships still use chemical propulsion." Vexilon's upper lips curled into what his species considered a smile. Hardly worth the effort of conquest. But orders are orders. The Empire needs their resources, not their technology. The doors swung open, revealing the United Council's circular chamber. 50 human representatives sat in tiered rows, their faces illuminated by the morning sun streaming through vast windows. At the center podium stood President Marcus Okoro, his dark suit and silver tie a stark contrast to Vexilon's shimmering garments. "Ambassador," Okoro's voice carried clearly across the chamber, "welcome to Earth. We trust your journey through our primitive space was uneventful." Something in Okoro's tone made Vexilon's secondary heart skip a beat, but he dismissed the sensation. These humans couldn't possibly understand the subtle art of diplomatic insult. He ascended to the guest podium, his robes rippling with patterns designed to induce psychological submission in lesser species. "Esteemed Council," Vexilon's translator converted his clicks and whistles into smooth English. "The Kraxan Empire, rulers of 300 star systems, brings you an opportunity. Your world sits at a crucial hyperspace junction. Your resources are valuable. Your people are," he paused for effect, "adequately developed." Scattered chuckles echoed from the Imperial officers in the observation gallery. One of them was watching cat videos on his neural feed, apparently more interested in Earth's primitive entertainment than the proceedings. "We offer you protection, advancement, and purpose. Join us as a protectorate. Share your resources. Accept our guidance. The alternative," Vexilon's robes flashed crimson, "would be unfortunate." President Okoro adjusted his tie, his expression unnervingly calm. "And if we require time to consider your generous offer." In the observation gallery, Imperial Captain Yexmar nearly choked on his luxury stimulant. The human actually thought they had a choice. His neural feed displayed their pathetic military capabilities: a handful of moon colonies, a small Mars outpost, and those laughable orbital platforms. "The Empire grants you 7 planetary rotations," Vexilon announced magnanimously. "Though I cannot fathom what requires consideration. Your species' survival hangs in the balance." 7 days, Okoro nodded, that same unsettling calm in his voice. "We accept these terms for deliberation. Though I'm curious, Ambassador. Have you ever wondered why a species capable of quantum computing and fusion power maintains such a seemingly modest space presence?" Vexilon waved the question away with a dismissive gesture. "Your technological development is clearly imbalanced, common among younger races. The Empire will correct these deficiencies." As the ambassador and his entourage departed, they completely missed the subtle glances exchanged between council members. None of them noticed President Okoro press a pattern into his tie clip, sending a quantum-encrypted signal to bases hidden throughout the solar system. And not a single Imperial sensor detected the advanced stealth ship lurking in low orbit, recording their every move. The Empire's laughter would echo through their ships for 7 more days. Just 7 more days. 3 kilometers beneath Titan's methane seas, Admiral Jessica Iron Eyes Morrison stood before a holographic display that filled the bridge of the UES Shadowhawk. The quantum feed showed real-time positions of Imperial vessels, their crystalline forms rendered in pulsing red against the backdrop of Earth's orbital space. Arrogant bastards aren't even running active scans. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Sparks Peterson reported from his tactical station. They're so convinced of their superiority, they're operating on passive sensors only. Morrison allowed herself a small smile. Maintain emissions control. Let them keep believing they're alone up there. Her fingers traced the outline of an Imperial dreadnought, its crew probably laughing at Earth's primitive orbital platforms at this very moment. The Shadowhawk's bridge hummed with quiet efficiency, a testament to years of training in absolute secrecy. Through the ship's quantum entanglement network, Morrison could feel the pulse of humanity's true fleet. Hundreds of vessels hidden throughout the solar system, waiting. Some lurked in Jupiter's storms, others in Mercury's eternal shadow, and dozens more in dimensional pockets that the Empire believed impossible to create. Signal from deep contact. Communications Officer Ashley Echo Martins announced, her hands dancing over holographic controls. Agent Walker has successfully accessed the Imperial BattleNet, transferring tactical data now. The bridge's main display shifted, showing a cascade of Imperial fleet movements, command codes, and strategic weaknesses. Lieutenant Kate Walker, operating deep behind enemy lines, had proven once again why she'd earned the call sign Coast. Ma'am. Peterson's voice carried a note of satisfaction. Agent Walker confirms the Empire's arrogance is systemic. Their ships maintain minimal point defense coverage. They've never encountered an enemy that could get close enough to matter. Morrison's smile grew sharper. They're about to learn the hard way that humanity doesn't play by their rules. She turned to her executive officer, Commander James Quicksilver Rodriguez. Status of Protocol Dark Harbor. Rodriguez pulled up a series of status indicators. All ships report ready. Quantum synchronization at optimal levels. The Titan fleet can deploy in under 3 minutes. Jupiter Command reports similar readiness, and the Mars Shadow Fleet awaits your word. On a secondary display, news feeds showed Imperial officers touring Earth's primary shipyards. They mockingly photographed themselves next to outdated chemical rockets and basic orbital shuttles. The carefully maintained facade was working perfectly. Message from President Okoro, Martins reported. Operation Trojan Horse is proceeding as planned. Imperial intelligence is completely focused on our surface activities. Morrison nodded, remembering the decades of preparation that led to this moment. While the Empire expanded across the galaxy, humanity had watched, learned, and prepared. Every failed space program had been a cover for advanced research. Every budget cut had funneled resources into the hidden fleet. Even their quantum computing breakthroughs had been disguised as limited artificial intelligence experiments. New contact, Peterson announced suddenly. Imperial scout ship approaching Titan's upper atmosphere, maintaining course and speed. The bridge crew tensed, but Morrison remained calm. Let them come. The stealth fields will hold. She watched as the scout ship passed barely 50 kilometers above their position, its sensors completely blind to the advanced fleet hiding beneath the methane sea. 4 days until their deadline, Rodriguez noted quietly. Morrison's expression hardened. 4 days until they learn why humanity has survived every crisis in our history. 4 days until they understand that their laughter was premature. She turned to face her crew, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's future. For now, we maintain the facade. Let them mock our primitive technology. Let them underestimate our capabilities. She looked back at the display showing the Empire's fleet, remembering an ancient human saying, "Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall." The Empire's fall was coming, and humanity would be the ones laughing last. Imperial Captain Zextar stared at the debris field through his flagship's quantum viewport, his primary heart racing uncomfortably. This was the third unexplained wreckage site his patrol had discovered in as many days, and something about it made his scales itch. Analysis complete, sir, his science officer, Rixna, reported with typical Imperial precision. The debris contains traces of our alloys, consistent with a Mark VII patrol cruiser. But the dispersion pattern, it's wrong. Wrong how? Zextar demanded, his ceremonial armor feeling unusually heavy. The fragments suggest the ship was destroyed from the inside out, not by collision or mechanical failure. And there's something else. Rixna's voice wavered. The quantum dating shows this happened only 6 hours ago, but there's no distress signal on record. Unnoticed by the Imperial officers, a sleek shape shifted in the darkness beyond their sensors' range. Lieutenant Kate Ghost Walker watched through her stealth ship's advanced optical systems, recording every word and movement. Her vessel, the UES Wraith, represented technology the Empire believed impossible. Perfect sensor absorption combined with quantum field manipulation. Command won't like this report, Zextar muttered, adjusting his neural implant settings. 3 lost ships in this sector alone. The humans couldn't possibly. Sir, his tactical officer interrupted. Energy spike at bearing 340. Walker tensed, but maintained her position. The spike was deliberate, a calculated risk to seed doubt in Imperial minds. Her ship's quantum core pulsed silently, ready to jump if needed. The energy signature vanished as quickly as it appeared, leaving the Imperial crew bewildered. Zextar's secondary heart joined his primary in its rapid beating. Log it, he ordered, and increase sensor sweep frequency. Aboard the Wraith, Walker allowed herself a small smile. The Empire's sensors would find nothing, but they'd spend precious resources looking. Just as planned. 12 hours later, in a secure Imperial command center orbiting Mars, junior analyst Kexby compiled his latest report with trembling hands. The patterns were there, screaming for attention, but his superiors had dismissed his concerns 3 times already. Sir, he approached Commander Yexpol's desk. I found something in the patrol logs. Yexpol barely looked up from his entertainment feed, where he was watching human reality television, with amused disdain. Another conspiracy theory, analyst. The disappearances follow a pattern. Kexvi projected a holographic map. Each lost ship was near a gas giant or significant gravitational body. The energy spikes reported by Captain Zextar's patrol, they matched theoretical calculations for quantum wake signatures. Theoretical, Yexpol emphasized the word. Technology that primitive humans couldn't possibly possess. Have you been drinking fermented mineral supplements again? In the shadows of Phobos, one of Mars' moons, Commander Diana Valkyrie Thompson watched the exchange through quantum-linked surveillance systems. Her strike team had spent months planting untraceable monitoring devices throughout the Imperial fleet. They're starting to notice, Admiral. She reported through a secured channel to Morrison. But their arrogance is holding firm. The psychological warfare is working exactly as predicted. Morrison's voice came back clear through quantum entanglement. Maintain observation. Let their own minds do our work for us. How many ships have they lost now? 7, ma'am. All in accidents that their rigid minds can't properly categorize. Their command structure is starting to show stress fractures. Back in the Imperial Command Center, Kexvi made one last attempt. Commander, the humans' level of technology doesn't match their scientific publications. Their theoretical papers on quantum mechanics alone suggest. Enough. Yexpol slammed his ceremonial staff down. They're barely past chemical rockets. Return to your station and focus on actual threats. As Kexvi slunk away, Walker's Wraith slipped silently past the Imperial defense grid, its advanced systems recording everything. In 2 days, the Empire would learn just how wrong their assumptions had been. But by then, it would be far too late. Admiral Jack Thunderbolt Reynolds stood in the command center of Olympus Base, deep within Jupiter's Great Red Spot, watching the countdown timer tick away. The Empire's deadline would expire in exactly 3 minutes. Around him, the crew of humanity's largest hidden shipyard maintained absolute silence, broken only by the soft hum of quantum computers. Imperial fleet is moving into bombardment positions. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Oracle Williams reported, her hands dancing over holographic controls. They're deploying in standard Kraxan conquest formation. Absolutely textbook. Reynolds allowed himself a grim smile. Textbook is predictable. Predictable gets you killed. He opened a quantum-encrypted channel to all hidden fleet commanders. All units, Operation Lazarus is now active. Commence final preparations. Throughout the solar system, humanity's true military might stirred to life. Within Neptune's storms, beneath Saturn's rings, and inside hollow asteroids, advanced warships powered up systems that the Empire had deemed theoretically impossible. Ambassador Vexilon stood on the bridge of the Imperial flagship, his bioluminescent robes pulsing with anticipation. Open a channel to their pathetic council. Let them witness their moment of submission. President Okoro's face appeared on the main screen, still wearing that infuriatingly calm expression. Ambassador, I assume you're calling regarding your deadline. Your time for deliberation is over, Vexilon announced grandly. What is your answer? Okoro adjusted his tie, revealing a small pin shape like Earth's ancient Greek letter Omega. I suppose it's time we showed you our answer. He pressed the pin. For 3 heartbeats, nothing happened. Then everything happened at once. The space around Earth rippled as advanced cloaking fields collapsed. Hundreds of warships, their hulls gleaming with metamaterials that absorbed all sensor readings, appeared in perfect attack formation. From Jupiter's clouds, enormous carriers emerged, their quantum drives humming with power the Empire had never seen. By the first Emperor, Vexilon whispered, his robes turning pale with fear. Impossible. Sir, his tactical officer's voice cracked. Multiple signatures emerging from Saturn's rings. More from Mercury's dark side. They're everywhere. Admiral Morrison's voice cut across all frequencies, broadcasting in perfect Imperial standard. This is Admiral Jessica Morrison of the United Earth Fleet. Your sensors are now detecting approximately 1/8 of our total military strength. The rest. She paused for effect. The rest are already behind your lines. As if to punctuate her words, dozens of Imperial support ships suddenly went dark, their systems corrupted by pre-planted quantum viruses. Lieutenant Walker's deep cover agents have been busy during the Empire's week of waiting. Your ships near Mars, Morrison continued, will notice they can't access their weapons. Those near Venus are about to lose propulsion. And your main fleet. She allowed herself a small chuckle. Well, look up. The Imperial bridge crew stared in horror as massive shapes descended from Earth's thermosphere. Ships that had been hiding in plain sight, disguised as orbital defense platforms, revealed their true forms. We've been studying you for decades, Morrison explained. Every weakness, every tactical doctrine, every flaw in your supposedly superior technology. Did you really think a species that mastered quantum computing would be stuck using chemical rockets? Reynolds watched from Jupiter as the Empire's mighty fleet found itself surrounded, outgunned, and completely outmaneuvered. Send the secondary signal, he ordered. Throughout Imperial space, sleeper agents activated their final protocols. Quantum communication relays went dark. Supply lines disappeared. Carefully planted disinformation began spreading through their command networks. What are your terms? Vexilon asked, his voice barely a whisper. President Okoro stepped back into view. Terms? Oh no, Ambassador. First, we're going to have a long discussion about the true meaning of civilization. Your empire needs to learn something that humanity discovered centuries ago. His eyes hardened. The most dangerous opponent isn't the one who shows you their strength. It's the one who knows when to hide it. Morrison finished, as Earth's hidden fleet brought their weapons to bear on the Empire's finest ships. Commander Diana Valkyrie Thompson's hands danced across her neural interface as she sent the UES Raptor into a corkscrew maneuvered at Imperial tactical computers labeled unsurvivable. The massive crystalline form of an Imperial cruiser filled her viewport, its point defense systems trying desperately to track her ship's impossible trajectory. Status on their targeting systems, she asked, her voice steady despite pulling 9 Gs. Confused as hell, ma'am, Lieutenant Mark Circuit Wilson reported with a grin. Their predictive algorithms are based on linear combat doctrine. They literally can't compute three-dimensional spiral attacks. The Raptor's quantum drive hummed as Thompson executed another maneuver that sent them skimming along the cruiser's hull, so close they could see individual armor plates. Growing up in Earth's higher gravity had given humans an innate understanding of complex spatial movements that the Empire had never needed to develop. Firing solution ready, Weapons Officer Patricia Havoc Martinez announced, targeting their primary power conduits, just like we practiced. Thompson smiled. Send our regards to the Empire. The Raptor's advanced weaponry, technology the Empire had dismissed as theoretical, carved through the cruiser's shields like they didn't exist. The massive ship split apart with surgical precision, its crew evacuating in escape pods rather than face humanity's inexplicable combat prowess. Across the solar system, similar scenes played out as humanity's hidden fleet demonstrated centuries of secret military innovation. The Empire's rigid battle formations, designed for head-on engagements, crumbled against attacks from impossible angles. Admiral Michael Steele Harrison watched from his flagship as Imperial ships tried to maintain their textbook formations. Status report on Operation Checkmate, he commanded. Quantum viruses have infected 60% of their command and control networks, his AI liaison reported. Their ships can't coordinate effectively. Individual captains are falling back on basic training, making them even more predictable. Through his neural link, Harrison observed multiple battles simultaneously. Near Venus, Earth ships used the planet's gravity well to slingshot around the Empire's flank, appearing from angles their sensors couldn't track. In Mars orbit, Lieutenant Kate Walker's stealth fleet emerged from dimensional pockets to strike and vanish before Imperial gunners could respond. "Sir," his tactical officer called out, "the Empire's third battle group is attempting to regroup near Titan. They're following Standard Protocol 7. Harrison actually laughed. Of course they are, because that's what the manual says. He opened a channel to Thompson's squadron. Valkyrie, they're running the playbook. Show them why humans don't rely on manuals. Thompson's voice came back clear and confident. With pleasure, sir. Raptor Squadron. Execute Maneuver Tesla. 6 human ships dropped out of quantum space in a formation that Imperial tacticians had deemed suicidal centuries ago. The Empire's third battle group opened fire with their main batteries, expecting an easy kill. Instead, the human ships split apart in a precisely choreographed dance, their paths weaving between the energy beams with impossible precision. How? An Imperial commander demanded over an open channel. No species can calculate quantum jumps that precisely. We're not calculating them, Thompson replied, as her squadron reappeared inside the Imperial formation. We're feeling them. Humans have been throwing rocks at moving targets since we lived in caves. Space combat is just rocks and trajectories with better technology. The Empire's ships, built for power and durability, couldn't match the agility of vessels designed by a species that understood warfare wasn't about who had the biggest guns, it was about who could hit their target. As another Imperial formation disintegrated under precision strikes, Harrison received a priority message from Admiral Morrison. The Empire's trying to call in reinforcements, she reported. They're about to learn why that's a bad idea. Harrison nodded. The Empire's communications network had been compromised for years. Their distress calls would only reveal how thoroughly humanity had prepared for this day. Let them come, he replied, watching Thompson's squadron demolish another Imperial impenetrable defense line. The more ships they commit, the more they'll lose. The Empire was learning, too late, that they should have wondered why humans smiled when they call us primitive. Grand Admiral Zexthor of the Imperial First Fleet watched in stunned silence as another defensive line collapsed under human assault. His command center's holographic displays showed scenes that contradicted everything he thought he knew about warfare and technological development. Impossible, he muttered, watching a human vessel execute a combat jump that covered less than 1,000 kilometers, a feat Imperial scientists had declared physically unworkable. Their targeting systems, their maneuvers. How did we miss this? My lord, his tactical advisor's voice shook. We've decoded some of their communications. They're not using targeting systems for their micro-jumps. They're doing it manually. A human ship flashed past his flagship's viewport, so close he could see the name painted on its hull. UES Normandy. Its pilot performed a maneuver that should have torn any vessel apart, the quantum wake signature barely registering on their sensors. Through a secured channel, Admiral Michael Steele Harrison's voice cut through their confusion. Wondering how we do it, Admiral Zexthor, your empire made a fundamental mistake. You assumed technology always develops in a straight line. On the main screen, Harrison's image appeared, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to the chaos around them. Humanity evolved on a world with gravity 30% stronger than your homeworld. We developed spatial reasoning that your species never needed. A series of tactical displays appeared, showing human ships using gravitational slingshots and solar winds in ways that made Imperial navigators flinch. While you built bigger engines to power through space, Harrison continued, we learned to dance with it. Bridge, a sensor operator called out, multiple quantum signatures approaching from inside the sun's corona. The UES solar storm emerged from its hiding place within the solar flares, its advanced heat shields shrugging off temperatures that would melt Imperial ships instantly. Commander Ryan Phoenix Martinez's voice crackled through. Like the Admiral said, we dance with space. Zexthor's primary heart nearly stopped as understanding dawned. The primitive chemical rockets, the basic orbital platforms, all part of the facade, Harrison confirmed. While your spies watched our public space program, our real fleet developed in secret. You thought our quantum computing research was theoretical. It wasn't. You dismissed our papers on metamaterials as fantasy. They weren't. Through the quantum communications network, Lieutenant Kate Ghost Walker's voice joined in. Your empire's arrogance made infiltration almost too easy. Your commanders were so convinced of their superiority, they never questioned why a species smart enough to crack quantum mechanics would still be using liquid fuel rockets. The tactical displays showed more human ships emerging from hiding places throughout the solar system. Some appeared from within gas giant storms, others from dimensional pockets that Imperial science said couldn't exist, and more simply materialized from what looked like empty space. Your stealth technology, Zexthor realized, you've had it all along. We learned early in our history, Harrison explained, that the strongest position is the one your enemy doesn't know about. Every time your empire encountered a new species, they showed their full military might immediately. We watched. We learned. We adapted. A new alarm blared as human ships executed a series of coordinated micro-jumps that brought them inside the Imperial fleet's formation. Ships that the Empire had dismissed as primitive now demonstrated technology centuries ahead of their expectations. Final analysis coming in, Zexthor's science officer reported, his voice hollow. Their quantum drives aren't just advanced. They're operating on principles we never considered. They don't force their way through space-time. They work with it. Harrison's image nodded. Humanity learned long ago that the universe doesn't care about empire or protocol or military doctrine. It cares about understanding. While you were building bigger guns, we were learning to think differently. The display showed more Imperial ships going dark as pre-planted quantum viruses activated. Years of infiltration and preparation were bearing fruit. Consider this a lesson in humility, Harrison concluded, one your empire desperately needed. Zexthor watched as his mighty fleet, pride of the empire, found itself outmaneuvered by a species they had laughed at just days before. The laughter, he realized, had been their first mistake. It wouldn't be their last. The Imperial flagship's bridge fell silent as another battle group surrendered. Through the quantum viewport, Admiral Michael Steele Harrison watched escape pods streak away from disabled capital ships, their occupants choosing survival over the Empire's doctrine of fighting to the death. 7th Fleet has surrendered, sir, Commander Diana Valkyrie Thompson reported through the command network. Their admiral actually complimented our tactics before powering down his weapons. Harrison nodded, studying the tactical display where human ships had systematically dismantled the greatest armada in known space. Status of Operation Checkmate. Quantum viruses have compromised 90% of their command and control networks. Lieutenant Mark Circuit Wilson confirmed. Their remaining ships can't coordinate effectively. We're seeing individual captains making independent decisions now. Independent decisions, Harrison mused. That's a first for them. Maybe there's hope yet. He opened a channel to all frequencies, broadcasting in both English and Imperial Standard. This is Admiral Harrison to all Imperial forces. Your fleet is defeated. Your communications are compromised. You have two options. He paused, letting the reality sink in. Option 1. Power down your weapons, shield generators, and primary drives. Maintain life support and auxiliary power only. You will be treated according to Earth's laws of warfare, with dignity and respect. Through the command network, he could see Imperial captains looking at each other in confusion. The concept of mercy from a superior force was alien to their doctrine. Option 2. Harrison's voice hardened. Continue fighting. Watch as we dismantle your ships with surgical precision, targeting weapons and engines while preserving life support. We've demonstrated we can do this. Ask your colleagues in the 7th Fleet. President Okoro's voice joined the broadcast. To all Imperial worlds receiving this transmission, Earth seeks neither conquest nor revenge. We defend ourselves, but we also offer a path forward. The Empire's time of unchecked expansion is over. The era of cooperation begins today. On dozens of Imperial worlds, pre-positioned human agents activated their final protocols. Quantum communication relays broadcasted proof of Earth's victory. Colonial governors, long chafing under Imperial control, saw their opportunity. Sir, Thompson's voice carried a note of amazement. We're receiving surrender signals from Imperial worlds. Not just ships, entire systems are declaring independence from the Empire. Harrison watched as the tactical display updated, showing Imperial territory fragmenting like a broken mirror. Centuries of oppression and rigid control were unraveling in hours. Message from Admiral Morrison. Sir, Wilson reported. The Imperial Palace on Craxon Prime is requesting terms. They're asking for our protection against revolutionary forces. Ironic, Harrison allowed himself a small smile. Send terms to all surrendering forces. Immediate cessation of hostilities, quantum virus removal protocols, and technological cooperation agreements. And make sure they understand. Earth will not be their new empire. We're offering partnership, not dominion. Through the quantum viewport, he watched as human ships moved to assist damaged Imperial vessels. Medical teams transported to help the wounded. Engineering crews helped stabilize critical systems. Sir, Thompson sounded puzzled. Some Imperial officers are asking why we're helping them. They expected execution or imprisonment. Tell them this is how Earth wages peace, Commander. The Empire ruled through fear. We'll lead through example. Harrison opened a private channel to Morrison. The hard part begins now, Jessica. We've shocked them with our strength. Time to shock them with our wisdom. Agreed, Morrison replied. The fleet performed perfectly, but rebuilding will be the real challenge. The Empire's worlds need to learn self-governance. Their people need to rediscover independence. Harrison looked at the tactical display one last time, watching as more green surrender indicators replaced red hostile markers. The Empire had learned what humanity had known for centuries. True strength isn't about destructive power. It's about knowing when to show mercy. Begin rescue operations, he ordered, and prepare for peace talks. The galaxy's about to change, and humanity will help guide that change. He smiled. After all, We've had centuries of practice hiding our true nature. Time to show them who we really are. 6 months later, the observation deck of Earth's Titan shipyard gleamed with holographic displays as former Imperial diplomats toured what had once been humanity's best-kept secret. Ambassador Rental, once a junior officer who had laughed at Earth's primitive technology, now stared in wonder at quantum drives being assembled with practiced precision. "Remarkable," she whispered, watching human engineers work alongside their Imperial counterparts. "All of this was here, right under our sensors, while we mocked your chemical rockets." Commander Diana Valkyrie Thompson smiled, her dress uniform a stark contrast to the ambassador's now subdued ceremonial robes. "The best hiding place is often in plain sight. Your empire was so convinced of its superiority, it never occurred to you to look deeper." They passed a training area where human instructors taught Imperial pilots the art of microjumping, precise quantum leaps that the Empire had considered impossible. The students' expressions showed equal parts frustration and amazement as they learned to feel space-time rather than force their way through it. "Is it true?" Rental asked, watching a simulation of human combat maneuvers. "Your species really evolved with enhanced spatial awareness because of Earth's gravity." "Partially true," Thompson replied. "But it's more than that. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our physical capabilities. It's our adaptability, our willingness to learn, to change, to hide our strength until the right moment." They reached the heart of the facility where Admiral Michael Steele Harrison waited beside President Okoro. The massive chamber housed the quantum computational core that had coordinated Earth's hidden fleet for decades. "The Terra Accords are proceeding better than expected," Harrison reported, gesturing to a galactic map showing former Imperial worlds now marked in peaceful green. 97 systems have successfully transitioned to self-governance. The remaining 3 are receiving assistance from Earth advisors and the former Empire's technology exchange program. Rental inquired. Okoro smiled. "Proceeding smoothly. Your people are learning our quantum manipulation techniques while we study your crystalline computing. Together, we're advancing faster than either civilization could alone." A holographic alert drew their attention. The UES Raptor appeared through a precisely calculated microjump, executing a maneuver that would have been impossible 6 months ago. Its crew included both humans and former Imperial officers, working in harmony. "There's something I still don't understand," Rental admitted. "Why reveal yourselves now? Why not earlier? Or later?" Harrison exchanged glances with Okoro before answering. "Humanity learned long ago that timing is everything. We waited until we could be certain our revelation would lead to peace, not just victory. We had the capability to challenge the Empire decades ago," Thompson added. "But military power alone doesn't create lasting change. We needed your people ready to accept a new way of thinking." Through the quantum viewport, they watched as ships from a dozen different species maneuvered together in the space around Titan. The rigid formations of the Imperial era had given way to fluid, adaptable patterns that humans had used for centuries. "Perhaps that was our greatest failure," Rental mused. "Not underestimating your technology, but failing to understand your patience, your wisdom." Okoro nodded. "The Empire ruled through force and fear. Earth chose to lead through example and understanding. That's why we hid our true strength. To show that power isn't about domination. It's about choice." As if to emphasize his words, a group of children, human and Imperial together, passed by on their way to the facility's education center. They chattered excitedly about quantum physics and spatial dynamics, their natural curiosity uninhibited by old prejudices. "The future belongs to them," Harrison said softly. "Not to empires or fleets, but to those who learn, adapt, and grow together." Rental watched the children disappear around a corner, then turned back to the assembled human leaders. "You know, we used to laugh at humanity's primitive ways." She smiled, her bioluminescent patterns glowing with genuine warmth. "Now we understand. The greatest power isn't in showing strength. It's in knowing when to hide it, Thompson finished. And more importantly, when to use it wisely. Outside, Earth's hidden fleet continued its patrols, no longer concealed, but now a symbol of protection rather than deception. The Empire's laughter had died, but in its place, something far better had grown: understanding, respect, and hope for a future where strength served wisdom.